So I am proud to have these people with us today. And first I'd like to have District 2 speak, introduce themselves, give us their ideas, their thoughts, and then after that we will have the other two speak. Please, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Calvert, and I'm running for Hillsborough County Commission District 2. And I thank the Tiger Bay Club for this opportunity. I'm happy to point out that since I launched my campaign in March, some things that have emerged that show that we need some new blood in the County Commission. First of all, I qualified by petition, and that demonstrates that I've been going out into the community, I've been listening to voters' concerns, and I've been engaging and meeting the electorate. And second, as a candidate, I've already had a positive impact on the taxpayers of Hillsborough County. When I launched my campaign in March, I raised the ante on our local government to put our county checkbook online. And for transparency, as I believe that the taxpayers deserve to know where the dollars are spent and to whom the checks are written. And I'm very flattered that my opponent, who's been on the County Commission for a year and a half, adopted one of my major ideas, and he garnished a unanimous decision last week to implement that transparency. As a candidate, I've already benefited the citizens. Can you imagine what I can do to benefit my constituents, what I can achieve as a commissioner? I think it's time for some dynamic thinking, some new solution modeling, and ideas that aim to make all of Hillsborough County, not just some part of Hillsborough County, but all of Hillsborough County robust, competitive, and business-friendly. So let's reduce some of that regulations that's especially hurting small business. Let's streamline our services, and let's ensure that we have a government that we can afford. I'm a citizen, I'm not a career politician, I'm only looking to serve. And if you'd like to learn more, please go to my website, votesharoncalvert.com. Thank you.
I'm Victor Crist, and I believe to know what a person will do for you and where they'll be going is to look at their past and what they've done. In my life, I've worn a whole lot of different shoes. Starting out as a child, I'm the son of a decorated military officer who gave his life to serve this country, fighting in 3 wars and 2 battles, that came home to start 18 civic groups up and down the beaches of Pinellas County to fight to protect our pristine way of life. My mother was a medical missionary who donated her entire life to free health services. I lived in third world countries and went to places where doctors wouldn't go so Mama could practice medicine with the most disadvantaged and unfortunate. Coming back to this country, I grew up with that family and those principles, that sound foundation that molded my character and who I am today. When I went to USF to go to school, yes, I graduated with 3 degrees, business, communications, pre-law, political science. Found that I had an advertising creative spirit and started an ad agency over 30 years ago, which has been profitable every year, and I'm still president, and that's how I earn my living. But what I didn't foresee back then is the little civic movement that I started to take back the streets of our neighborhoods would grow into what it is today, the largest, strongest civic group and movement in the Bay Area. You see, we sat around a table of 18 of us, angry at our government because it was so unreceptive to the needs of everyday people, regardless of their party affiliations. 19 names went into a hat, an elderly man said a prayer over it, reached in, pulled a name out, and that person had to run for office, and that's how I got into politics. Yeah, I had a full head of hair. For those who were laughing, you remember my afro, and of course at the time I was dating a Japanese lady, so I had a little Komodo dragon hanging from my ear. The Republicans were quick to say, oh, heck no, and they cut my ponytail off. But, you know, I look back at the opportunities that I've had as a public servant, serving my constituents of a variety of different diversities. Getting elected in a House seat that they said I would never win because it was only 31% Republican. It was 62% female and 40% black, of which I'm none of the 3. But I won every election. I served that community. I served it well. Because of that outstanding service, I got elected to the Florida Senate, where I continued to serve. 20 months ago, I got elected to the County Commission as your County Commissioner. I still earn my living as a small businessman, but now I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a husband. Despite many of you naysayers, yes, we've been married 7 years and going strong. And we just gave birth to our first child. Yes, at 55, I'm starting to be a daddy. And I haven't had any sleep, so if I mix my words up, I'm running on low juice. But she's only about this big, she's 5 pounds, little Sophia Victoria, and I have learned so much over the years. Some of the things that I've done for you, well, I fought for consumers. I fought to make sure that every woman in this state would be able to have access for a mammogram and a pap smear so that you could be diagnosed if you had cancer in advance. For you men, I did the same thing for prostate exams. So every year when you go to see your physician and they do this and the insurance company pays for it, remember me. For our judges that are in the room, well, I'm not an attorney, but for 16 years I was the lead on justice, the policy, and the funding. Because of my skill set and my ability, I was put in the tough challenge to reform the entire system in the state of Florida. Yes, rewriting all of our criminal codes. And it has been credited to reducing crime in this state by over 60%, setting the standard for other states in the union. Working with Lee Constantine in Orlando to write and promote and sell and push and adopt the Uniform Building Code statewide, which has set the standard nationally. Last week in the paper we saw that Florida had the #1 building codes in the country. And the list goes on and on. For our judges that are here, I pushed through what the Delphi study said year after year after year, and that was the need to fill judicial certifications because access to justice is so incredibly important. And what angers me is I left the legislature 20 months ago, but I left you fully funded. And I left the trust fund and the mechanism to keep our court system open so that businesses could get in there and they could get out on time and business could go on. And I watched it all come undone. And I don't want to see that happen at the local level. It's all about performance, not words and promises. It's about making jobs, making things happen, and doing the job. And going home and being a neighbor, a citizen, a dad, and a husband. My wife and I are 2 different political parties. She reminds me every campaign season when she puts my opponent's sign in the yard. Thank God you're a Republican.
Thank you, Mr. Crist.
But I would appreciate the opportunity to continue my good work in serving you and making a difference. Thank you.
30-second questions, 30-second answers, so we can get as many in as possible. If you're going to ask a specific candidate, please state that. If your question is to all the candidates, please state that.
Hi, I'm Sharon. Hillsborough County has a huge homeless youth population. They've gotten a little bit of publicity recently, but the numbers in the paper are not even the tip of the iceberg. Because they only count kids who have self-identified in a federal count, or kids who are actually in school. These are kids 15 to 22 who are living without a permanent nighttime residence and not in the custody of a parent or guardian. Most of them have not been in the child welfare system, and so there are no dollars attached to them. Hillsborough County has 8 beds for kids, but you have to have been in the system to be eligible for those. Hillsborough County owns a wonderful 24-bed empty shelter sitting right down there near Bayshore, and we have a great need for that. What would each of you do to help the homeless youth in Hillsborough County if elected, and would you help us find shelter?
It's tough for 30 seconds. Please, whoever wants to jump in.
Exactly what I'm already doing. The nonprofit that I founded, the University Area Community Development Corporation, has been working with one of my colleagues, Sandy Merman, who has taken the lead on this issue. And they are establishing one of the first homeless shelters to be able to work and deal with this issue in the university area where it's most prevalent. In addition to that, I worked and spearheaded the efforts to create 2 schools in that area, one of which has a day program where a child who has a child can come and become literate, get a GED, and learn workforce development opportunities to become productive. Our social workers are working with the private sector to generate private dollars to help sustain these programs in order to continue on and reach out to the folks that need to be reached to.
Well, you mentioned that there was an existing facility that could be used. I would certainly look to reusing something that's existing there and available. What I would also do is to, and what was mentioned is I would be partnering with our local charitable organizations to partner with them to perhaps use that existing facility to be able to provide the support for these types of needs.
Hey, Dowdy, if you're elected, what is the one thing that you believe needs to be changed, eliminated, improved in the county, and why?
Well, I still think that the number one issue that the county faces is jobs. We still have high unemployment here locally in the state and in the country. One of the things I think that's hurting us is regulations. We've got to relook at the regulations because it's especially hurting the small business. And small business has always been the engine of our economy, and it's just not there. And the difference in this recession and downturn, I believe, is the overburden regulations and fees that are burdening entrepreneurs and small businesses from being able to start a business, expand their business, move their business, and prosper. So let's get the county working. If we want to be able to afford, the county that we have and continue, we've got to get the county working, and we need to broaden that tax base.
I agree. Right now, number one priority needs to be to get people working. But the problem we face, well, we read about it today in the paper. There's 700 technical jobs available right now, but there's only 400 people graduating with technical degrees to fill those positions. We've got a technology gap here in the Bay Area. We need to create, cultivate, and develop a viable workforce. In addition, one of the things that I've noticed coming home that I saw from at the state level, the reason why Orlando has passed us, and their University of Central Florida there has outgrown USF, is because they're working together. We're not. We have 3 different markets that surround the Bay here, and we're all isolated in our own silos. It is important that we identify the resources we have. We pool those resources. We work together. We work as one, and we capitalize on the assets we have. And I would like to continue my good work in bringing all of the partners together, eliminating these silos, and cultivating these effective initiatives to bring the jobs here and to develop a workforce to fill those positions.
Tom Adderhold. All 4 are running or are seated on the Board of County Commissioners. It's a very local governance board. It's very important for anybody in that position, particularly those that are not incumbents, to have true grassroots community involvement and can say that I can bring something constructive and meaningful to the Board of County Commissioners. So with that, I ask this question. Instead of telling us what you will do, tell us what you have done to actually solve our biggest problems of transportation and quality of life at the community level. All of you, each of you, please.
Well, I have been involved in the grassroots activities over the last few years, and I have worked on a number of issues, from the transit issue in 2010 through the waste management issue. And what I bring to the table is making sure that we put our county government contracts through an open, transparent bid process. Especially if you're talking about a $500 million contract that hadn't been put out for bid for 17 years. So I did help lead an effort that the commissions voted unanimously to put the waste management out for bid. On the rail issue, I did lead an effort to defeat the transit tax back in 2010. And I did not believe that that tax was the answer to our transportation issues. That's a very large, broad area, and there's a number of things, and I could probably rehash a lot of what went on in 2010. But one of the things from transportation that we need to do is we pay our federal gas taxes to DC, and for decades, while our state was growing in double digits, we were only getting 70, 80 cents back on the dollar. I think that's up to about 85 cents, but I had the honor last year of being invited by the House Transportation Committee Chairman John Micah to testify as they're going through the DOT reauthorization, to testify at the transportation stakeholder hearing. And what I advocated up there, and this was the first time actually, I testified representing the taxpayer. That had never happened before. But what I was looking to was to reform the Highway Trust Fund. That would empower the states to collect and keep the taxes that are paid already in the state, because I believe the state of Florida knows its transportation priorities much better than DC. So that's one of the areas, and I could go on, but the time's up.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Next speaker.
That I would do.
Same thing I've been doing. Fight to bring the resources, our fair share, home, to continue to build roads, continue to advance our mass transit systems, and to continue to make sure that we have both a commercial and a residential viable transportation system. You know, about 15 years ago, I fought for and brought money in to build the first mass transit center, and even worked with the architects to design it and the builders to build it, so that we could bring our buses from north to Fowler Avenue, because there were 60,000 people up there that didn't have cars and couldn't get to work. Those folks still couldn't get to the mass transit center, so I raised private money, put it into a foundation account, and funded for 6 years a circulator to get them to the mass transit center. I have worked with groups and people and Cutter at the university to establish mass transit plans for within my district in the north area of the county for nearly 2 decades. Right now I serve on the airport authority. We have brought 3 new flights and opened up 3 new industries to the Tampa Bay area. This afternoon, I'm going to a meeting where I'm sitting on a panel where I'm going to be participating in a discussion where we're going to be looking at how do we have more cooperation between our local airports. One of the things that I want to do, that I'm going to push through until we get it done, is we can go to any airport and catch a flight at another airport and get on an express bus and get there in time with your baggage, so that we can help speed things up and get people off our roads to free things up. I'm pushing to possibly consolidate the Port Authority, so we have one Port Authority in the Bay Area, so that we will be the largest port on the Gulf and not surpassed by 2 other ports. You know, people laugh and they joke, but I've done my homework, and I got to tell you, we're going to lose our cruise industry. That's part of transportation. We're going to lose it unless we start partnering with our neighbors over in Pinellas County or in Manatee County, whichever one's willing to come to the table and work with us, and keep that industry by opening a terminal over there. There are so many things that could go on and on and on, but the bottom line is to do here at home.
Next
that is
speaker,
a
please.
significant difference between my opponent and I.
Thank you. Next, excuse me.
Darlene Dixon. We have a wonderful jewel in this community, the University of South Florida. And I haven't heard enough today. I would like to know how important you feel the upgrading of the area surrounding USF in terms of economic and security conditions. There is some media coverage of that, and I'd like to know what you know about it and how important you think it is.
You've been talking to you guys.
Well, I understand what you're saying, because I graduated from USF a number of years ago, and I actually, lived in that part of the area that you're probably referring to, which is west of the campus there. What I would like to see is private enterprise. Perhaps there should be some short-term incentives to help bring redevelopment into that area. But I'm not sure that a big grandiose scheme is something that put the risk on the taxpayers should be done, especially in this economic uncertain times. I do believe there can be some redevelopment in that area. I also believe that we need to make sure that we do like Rudy Giuliani, which is just make sure that we, the broken windows, the trash cleanup, it's just some of the activities that would keep out, I guess, the vagrants or to help bring those property values up. But I would be concerned again about using vast amounts of taxpayer money, especially if you're going to go to the federal government, because that would be a long-term project and the federal money might not be there. I would much rather prefer looking at a private sector solution. There's the university there along with other businesses that I'm sure would participate to help bring and redevelop that area. And I think it can be done. And I believe in the free market solutions and the free markets and the Americans and the entrepreneurs out there. And again, some short-term incentives. But I'd be very concerned about long-term taxpayer subsidy project.
My opponent and I both care very much about the university area, and for personal reasons. We both live there. The difference is, it's been my life's work. It's been what I am known for in Hillsborough County for well over 32 years. The initiative I started 32 years ago, I'm still president of today. And I've used my politics to feed my community service, not my community service to feed my politics. I too would not support any grandiose, unfounded, unsound, government subsidized plan. What I support is Innovation Destination, which is a cumulative partnership of public-private ventures that are already invested in that area, and harnessing what they're already doing so that the strength of the sum of the parts is stronger than them individually. And coordinating that so that as we as commissioners plan for things that we're already going to do, we can centralize those to add and enhance what's going on there. Case in point, you're going to learn soon that Busch Gardens wants to build a huge hotel. When I found out that they were going to put it inside the grounds, I went to them and showed them the wisdom of fronting it on Busch Boulevard. There's going to be discussions about USF and its need for a stadium in the near future because they're going to want their own. Being able to site that in a strategic location where economic development can be cultivated between it and campus is the kind of critical thinking we need. This is what I will bring to the board. It takes time and experience to do that.
Last question.
Good afternoon, Adam Kentner. I'm also co-chair of the Greater Brandon Chamber of Commerce Government and Economic Advisory Council. And we're looking at ways we can foster growth out in East Hillsborough, in the Brandon area. And we've identified logistics with the growth of the port, as well as technology with HCC and a new Polytech that's going out in Polk County as areas for possible growth out in that direction. As Commissioner, what would you do to foster growth out in Eastern Hillsborough County?
Well, I've already been meddling out there, and it's not even my district. I spent 2 days learning about South County with a guy named General Pollock, and it's amazing the opportunities. One of the things I'm cultivating is I'd like to give some more tools to Tampa Bay and Company to market better quality conventions to Tampa. When you come to the convention center and you bring a family with you, then you need things to do. And we've got beautiful beaches down there, especially in E.G. Simmons Park, and right now I'm working on a set of drawings and plans to turn that into a recreational opportunity with a launch site where a boat can go from the convention center to E.G. Simmons Park. The county is going to be unveiling it probably within the next 6 months, the second economic development district. It's going to be centralized on the nexus of I-4 and 75. That's critical because that's the area where we have the greatest opportunity of harnessing existing resources that are out there. It's going to be Mike Merrill's top project. I was fortunate that he was willing to allow the university plan to roll out first, but this one's going to be coming out second. And my colleagues like Kevin Beckner, myself, Sandy Merman, Al Higginbotham, all of us have been working on this. And it's going to be something that's going to be extremely unique, and it will help us partner better with Orlando and the I-4 corridor.
Well, I'm not as familiar with the area in Brandon as perhaps Victor is. But again, I would just be advocating for private sector partnering with private sector businesses to ensure that you get your marketing for the area that for your businesses. And I would just again reiterate across the board for all of Hillsborough County is we just need a level playing field. We need to keep our taxes low, and we need to look at the regulations for businesses as far as somebody that's wanting to start a business or expand their business or relocate their business. I think a level playing field brings stability across the whole county, and there's one thing that when businesses relocate here that they're looking for, the number one thing is the cost of doing business. So I would just look at that across the whole county as ways to help getting the county back to work.
Thank you all for joining me. Thanks to your kind generosity, we were able to raise $289 for charities.